These are the beautiful Berkshire Mountains in northwestern Connecticut, an area of some of the most expensive and exclusive real estate in the entire world, and also the scene of some of the most elegant country living imaginable. But set in this beautiful sylvan setting is a racetrack, Lime Rock Park. Hi, I'm Brock Yates, and welcome today to the running of the SCCA Bendix Trans Am here at Lime Rock. Lime Rock has been the scene of road racing for over 30 years, and some of the most famous amateur and professional race drivers have competed here. Not only have they competed here, but some have started their careers here. Two men come to mind. Paul Newman took his first ride in a race car here at Lime Rock in 1970, and his car owner, Bob Sharp, an SCCA driving champion in his own right, started his racing career here as well. Today, they'll be driving a race car considerably quicker than those that they started their driving in years ago. This is a Nissan 300ZX Turbo, a car that is one of the very quickest of the Trans Am automobiles. Now, its power plant is an interesting one. It's a turbocharged V6 engine. Now, V6 engines, in many ways, are believed to be the wave of the future in all kinds of motorsports. We've got another kind of V6 here today. It may be even a little bit more competitive than one that Paul will drive. For more on that, let's go to my pal, Steve Evans.
It may not look like it, Brock, but Elliott Forbes Robinson's number 6 Buick is just about ready to go out onto the grid. All the crew has to do is snap on the body panels. And as you know, Brock, the Bendix Trans Am series is very popular with the manufacturers because it gives them a chance to compete with a variety of engine combinations. Now, General Motors is seriously involved because this is the ideal arena for them to exercise and develop their new V6 engines. And as you well know, soon the V8 in production cars will be a thing of the past. You're looking at the only fuel-injected V6 on the circuit. This is the Buick engine in the Buick Somerset Regal to be driven by EFR. There's also a very potent Chevrolet V6 out there and a Camaro we'll talk about in a bit. Now, if there's a horse for a course, this could be a great arena for the V6 to shine because unlike Road America, our last stop, which was a horsepower and brake track, here at Lime Rock, well, it's handling and driving that really counts.
Tell me about it, Steve. For years, Lime Rock has been known to separate the men from the boys. A relatively short, simple racetrack, but very quick. In fact, the outright lap record here in a GT prototype at 1.53 miles is over 120 miles an hour.
Brock, earlier we talked about the Nissan V6 and the Buick V6. Well, here's a V6 we're going to find in the front row, the number 8 Protofab Camaro. It has already won 3 races this year, and today will be driven by Wally Dallenbach Jr. of Basalt, Colorado. And earlier, Wally took our camera along for a ride to give you the driver's viewpoint of Lime Rock Park. Down the front straightaway, Brock, high speed, over 150 miles per hour.
Right, Steve. They come down off the hill here and head down toward turn number 1, past the start-finish line. A hard break in here by Dallenbach, and then sweeps in to this right-handed corner called Big Bend. Now, it's a decreasing radius. Notice how it tightens up right in there at the apex.
Now, here is Wally headed for the only left-hand turn on this circuit, taking him up through the S's. He'll start climbing here.
Favorite spectating area for the folks as he sweeps through the 2 S-bands and now out onto what they call the no-name straightaway.
And coming up, one of the most dangerous turns in Lime Rock. It's called the climbing turn. Here we go up the hill. It's blind off the other side. A car actually wants to do a wheel stand as it unloads, cresting the hill.
Right, you are, Steve, through the right-hander they call West Bend, and now downhill in the most dangerous part of the racetrack. Accelerating through this very fast right-hander, gaining speed for the front straightaway up to 150 miles an hour for a Trans Am car. A very quick lap here, under a minute.
And Lime Rock Park, much like an oval track in reverse, is very hard on the tires on one side. Here it's the left side. Our thanks to the Protofab racing team, Wally Dallenbach Jr., for a tremendous ride around this racetrack. Well, 30 beautiful racing sedans have been assembled on the grid. Let's check in with Brock.
Steve, the last time we saw this car and driver combination was with Road America on the 4-mile course where Pete Halsmer and his Mercure dominated the race, start to finish, flag to flag. Now, the big question, I suppose, Pete, right now is after that super effort at Road America at 4 miles, how do you feel the Mercure is going to behave on a 1.5-mile circuit like Lime Rock?
Well, the qualifying's been encouraging, so we'll just have to go out and see where it puts us, you know. I look forward to a good race for us. I see no reason why not.
You're feeling optimistic, and I'm sure the Jack Roush team feels good about the car.
Well, they've done a super job, and I can't say enough about them and the car itself. The Mercure is just a super little car.
Well, we hope to see you in victory tonight. Good luck, Pete.
Thank you.
Okay. And now, the primary rival for Pete Halsmer is this young man over here, the Wally Dallenbach car, and this is the Protofab Camaro that we saw run so well once again at Road America. He chased his man Pete Halsmer around the racetrack and did not quite haul him in at Road America. Wally, it looks like maybe we got a repeat effort. What do you think about Pete and that race car on this particular course? Now, that's a whole lot different kettle of fish here at 1.5 miles as opposed to the 4 miles at Elkhart Lake. Do you think you got a better shot at him, or is it about the same?
Oh, we got a better shot at him because here with the V6, I think we're going to have an advantage with the torque coming off the corners. Plus, we're running about the same weight they are, so I'll be able to go in as deep, if not deeper, under braking. So we made the switch for that reason. We got out-knobbed at Elkhart, but he's going to have a little tougher here.
All right. Well, I know it's going to be a good one. You guys always put on a super show. Best of luck, Wally.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Steve, back to you.
Well, Wally talking about the knob in the cockpit of Pete Halsmer's Turbo Mercure that controls that turbocharger boost. Wally doesn't have a knob, but he does have our camera. We'll be along for the ride today in the number 8 Protofab Camaro. And here's a young man who has been brought in by the Roush team to specifically chase down Wally Dallenbach if he can. Scott Pruitt. He's at a V8 Capri, Roseville, California. We saw him at Riverside come from 31st on the grid to win his first ever SCCA Trans Am race.
Starting beside him, Jim Miller, Oak Brook, Illinois, and the other Protofab car, the teammate of Wally Dallenbach Jr. This is a V8 automobile. Usually they bring a third car for Greg Pickett. Greg, not here today, so it's up to Miller and Dallenbach to hold off 3 Roush cars, Steve, the third one being this.
That's right. Chris Neifel has squeezed his 6'6" frame into yet another McCore. We saw him at Road America in a V8 car. He says he's much more comfortable in this machine, really likes it.
Okay, starting beside him, Elliott Forbes Robinson in the Ron Nash prepared Buick V6, a car that has come so close over the season, but not yet in the winner's circle.
Many think just a matter of time, though, Brock. And here he is, Paul Newman, the number 33 car. As you mentioned in the open, Brock, he's very comfortable at this racetrack, has a lot of confidence, but a little disappointed with his qualifying position.
Yes, but I would imagine that he'll start to move up. That turbo car should work very well here on this 1.53-mile Lime Rock road course.
And a lot of wonderful traditions here at Lime Rock, Brock, and this is one of them. This is Lime Rock's version of Baryshnikov. Malcolm Labatt Simon, the chief starter.
I wonder if he's really serious about that. Anyway, here they go, underway. Pete Halsmer and Wally Dallenbach on the front row. Now, those guys are pals, Steve. They race against each other often, but it's a whole different story as far as their team owners are concerned.
Oh, that's right. The Protofab Chevrolet team is comprised of a lot of people who last season were with Ford in the Jack Roush operation, including, of course, Wally Dallenbach Jr., who won the title for Ford. Bob Riley, the car designer, he defected. They don't get along that well. They don't even pit anywhere near each other.
And, of course, it's a classic Ford versus Chevrolet rivalry that we see spanning motorsports of all kinds across the United States.
And this particular racetrack, Brock, might be a great equalizer. As Dallenbach said, the boost knob isn't going to be quite as valuable to Pete Halsmer as it would. The V6 car is better balanced, should be a little easier on tires. That's why Wally Dallenbach Jr. selected that over a V8.
Well, Steve, you said earlier, Lime Rock is a lot like a short track, like an asphalt mile, and we're going to see some wild action here right after this. We'll be back for the start.
This special presentation of American Sports Cavalcade is being brought to you by the makers of Autolite spark plugs. If Autolite's on it, there's copper in it.
Time to go, boys. You've been in there long enough.
Hey, we're not even tired. I feel good.
So I've checked the mileage, Andy.
Hey, we're the Autolite. We're guaranteed.
Guaranteed?
I feel good. Yeah, 2 years, no matter how far we go.
But no spark plug guarantees that.
We do. Yeah, we're the Autolite.
But
So go pull the plug on somebody else.
If you have ever dreamed of becoming a race driver and taking a straightaway at over 150 miles per hour, then you need the Power Basics of Auto Racing. World-famous racing driver Pernelli Jones brings you the finest how-to racing video you'll ever own. Learn the basics of racing from the best professional drivers, cornering, passing, power shifting, and more by calling 1-800-833-7000. Road and Track magazine says the Power Basics of Auto Racing does a superb job on getting you started in racing. This how-to auto racing video cassette is only $39.95. Call toll-free 1-800-833-7000. Or save COD charges by mailing $39.95 plus $3 shipping and handling to Auto Racing, care of TV Offer, Post Office Box 10030, Stamford, Connecticut 06904. Order yours now and get this $9.95 Auto Racing book free. This powerful how-to auto racing package of video and book is yours for only $39.95 if you order now.
Hi, I'm Florence Henderson, and this is Jim and John Hager. If you're like us, you spent many pleasant hours just relaxing around the kitchen table talking with friends. Well, that's just what we do right here on Country Kitchen. Lots of your favorite stars drop by to share a story, and of course, we do get cooking country style. So pull up a chair and join us, okay?
Yum, 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 yum.
Catch Country Kitchen Saturday at 10:30 Eastern, 9:30 Central, 7:30 a.m. Pacific on the Nashville Network.
We're just moments away from a start of the SCCA Bendix Trans Am here at Lime Rock Park in Connecticut. I'm Steve Evans along with Brock Yates. And Brock, they are just now coming out of that final diving turn onto the front straightaway where I believe we're going to see a green flag.
We are, Steve, as Halsmer and Dallenbach almost nose-to-nose under the starter's flag. There it is, and it looks as if Halsmer has the inside line going down into turn number 1. Yes, that's Halsmer with the yellow bumper on that Mercure. Slides underneath Dallenbach, and oh, look at this!
That is Scott Pruitt. Pruitt moved right around Wally Dallenbach Jr. That's what he's paid to do.
What an aggressive driver old Scott is. As they go through the S's, we've got 2 Ford products, 2 Lincoln Mercury Capris and Mercures leading it here.
Now, Jack Roush, the team owner of the Mercury cars, very concerned that the McCours are going to be much harder on tires than the V6 car like Dallenbach's running in the 3rd spot there. Apparently, Brock, with the turbo lag, when that boost hits, it just wants to literally smoke the tire.
As Dallenbach tries Pruitt down low through West Bend, doesn't make it work. Off the corner and down the hill they go. Halsmer leads it through the hairiest part of the racetrack here, that diving turn onto the front straightaway.
And it's so critical, the diving turn, that you carry all the momentum you can out onto that long front straightaway. Now, Halsmer's instructions from the team manager, get as big a lead as you can get, and then hopefully we can cool it a little bit during the middle or towards the end of the race. But charge.
Well, it's going to work for him at this point because Pruitt now holding back Dallenbach, so there's a little blocking going on here, unconsciously at any rate. But you can see, look at that, Pruitt got it all over the racetrack coming off the S's, and now Wally gets underneath him and will probably get by as they head toward that uphill corner.
The V6 Camaro about 250 pounds lighter, and it pays off here. Wally Dallenbach takes back that 2nd position and is now going after that little dot you see in front of him. That's Pete Halsmer.
Through West Bend and now heading down the hill here at Lime Rock. Halsmer leading it. Right behind him now, Wally Dallenbach in the number 8 Camaro.
So it's Ford Chevrolet with Jim Miller running in the 4th spot in another of those prototype Camaros. He is trying to catch up with Scott Pruitt.
Well, there's the Lincoln Mercury Mercure of Pete Halsmer out front through the turn number 1, the Big Bend. And you can see here through Wally Dallenbach's windshield that Halsmer is really running hard with that car. And it doesn't look like Wally right now is able to move up on him.
Well, no one knows how much of the knob Pete Halsmer is using right now. He controls that boost inside the cockpit, but I've got a feeling, Brock, that he's got it pretty well maxed out.
I'm sure he has right now. He'd like to move through some of the slower traffic that he's coming up on right now and try to break away from the field a little bit.
And a pretty good race developing, Brock, for the 4th position. If the driver of the number 28 Camaro, Jim Miller, looks at his rearview mirror, he's going to see coming strong the number 6 Buick of Elliott Forbes Robinson. Forbes Robinson got around Chris Neifel.
Well, Elliott, of course, one of the real veterans, runs stock cars, Can-Am cars, Formula Atlantic cars, a real veteran, a former Californian, now living in Denver, North Carolina. Drives the wheels off anything he's in and has all kinds of experience here at Lime Rock as well.
Well, Pete Halsmer, who we saw win at Road America just a few weeks ago, enjoying about a 5-car length lead right now. But Wally Dallenbach Jr., Brock, is starting to pick him up a bit.
Well, that could get interesting as they head into some slower traffic. Here is the race for 10th. Now, that number 42 Buick Somerset Regal there, Steve, a familiar face to us. That is Tommy Riggins, the IMSA star. His kind of making his debut in Trans Am competition. He's run a couple of races, has yet to dial the car in really well. Right in front of him, Les Lindley from California in his number 80 Camaro. Right up there among the points leaders with consistent finishes all season.
And as we've seen, Brock, in some of our earlier Trans Am coverage, It doesn't particularly matter where you start on the grid. A good, steady performance by a Les Lindley could put him up into the top half a dozen very easily.
Well, he's done a fine job all year long running on relatively low funds as Tommy Riggins puts a move on him, heading down into turn number 1 and moves into that 10th spot.
We're going to see a lot of passing, Brock, I think, in that particular location where you pass under braking if you've got that low line. Tommy Riggins, well, you bring it out, he'll race it. This man can drive anything.
He sure can. And a super guy out of Jacksonville, Florida, sets up cars, builds race cars, and does his own chassis work. As we said earlier, he's got a way to go with a Trans Am automobile, but he has proved himself. We know he can drive them, and it'll just be a matter of time before he gets that car competitive.
Look at this, Wally Dallenbach Jr. The V6 Camaro has narrowed the gap between himself and the leader, Pete Halsmer, in the Turbo McCord. Dallenbach is really on a charge now, Brock. I think he took a few laps to settle down. Halsmer's starting to feel the pressure.
Oh, he is. Well, don't forget, he had to get by Pruitt to move in behind Pete Halsmer as they head down toward the S's. Here's the that white Camaro trying to get underneath Halsmer in the S's. There's no way, though, that Pete will let him by in this particular part of the racetrack.
Well, Dallenbach told you, Brock, he felt that he could outbrake Halsmer. We're going to find out here real quick.
As they head toward that climbing turn, that blind right-hander, uphill, it crests a hill here that you can't see where you're going. You kind of wonder. I've been around here a whole bunch of times, and it is a wild corner. There they go, sweeping through West Bend and down the hill. Now, this is the hardest part of the racetrack.
It'll be interesting to see if Dallenbach challenges coming out of this final turn headed up the main straightaway. That's an awful good place to execute if you got the power to do it.
So here comes the two leaders down toward turn number 1. It looks as if Halsmer got a good ride off that last corner onto the straightaway and pulled out a car length or 2 on Wally. But right now, into the S's they go. And once again, Dallenbach right up on the rear spoiler of that Mercure of Pete Halsmer.
And it's in the tighter parts of the course that Dallenbach should have the advantage. Here he comes, going to try moving the inside. No. Halsmer just slams the door on him. And now as the track straightens out a bit, he pulls away.
The classic road racer's lament. I caught him in the corners. He got away from me on the straight.
Heard that a lot.
There they go through West Bend again. Dallenbach moving right in behind Halsmer. Now remember now, down this hill and through this sweeping right-hander where you pick up speed and knock on 155 miles an hour on this straightaway, we see Pete Halsmer in that turbocharged Mercure pull away every time.
And that indeed is due to the turbocharging. You consider the engine is about half the size of Dallenbach's as far as cubic inches is concerned.
Well, these days there is a substitute for cubic inches, and they call it a turbocharger. Right now, one of those turbo cars leading here at Lime Rock with Pete Halsmer at the wheel. We'll be back.
You know, whenever we senior Americans get together, the subject of health care is sure to come up, and costs are skyrocketing. Now, friends, if you think Medicare is the answer, listen to this. Today, Medicare pays less than half of the average health care bill. Less than half. You're responsible for the rest. That means a stay in a hospital could cost thousands of dollars out of your own pocket. Let me ask you something. You know what a deductible is, or a co-payment? Well, that's the part of the bills you pay yourself. And they've been raised every single year since 1968. The deductible that started at $40 is now over $300. And you could pay that for one day in the hospital. Now, I know it's scary, but fortunately, I've got a great solution. So get pencil and paper for a very important phone number, and I'll tell you about it. It's the original Medicare insurance supplement from Union Fidelity Life Insurance Company. I'm sold on it. Look, it pays direct to you, not to the doctor or the hospital, unless that's what you want. And it pays regardless of any other coverage you have, including Medicare. And it guarantees to match your Medicare hospital increases dollar for dollar every time they go up. And best of all, if you're 65 or over, you can't be turned down for any reason. So get the Medicare insurance supplement that's already helping to protect thousands of senior Americans across the country. This information kit explains it all, and it's yours absolutely free when you dial our toll-free number. There is no obligation. So do yourself a favor. Call right now. At this time in your life, you really deserve peace of mind.
Take Danny Thomas's advice and call for this important information today. Call toll-free 1-800-228-5757. That's 1-800-228-5757, or write to Danny Thomas, Trevose, PA 19049.
I would imagine you could still find a steeplejack listed in the area yellow pages, as hundreds of churches like St. Mary's Church here in Lakeville dot the Connecticut countryside. St. Mary's Church is only about 2 miles from where this action is taking place. Wally Dallenbach Jr. in the Chevrolet V6 Camaro challenging the leader Pete Halsmer in the Turbo Mercure.
And Steve, we've got 3 makes: Buick, Chevrolet, and Lincoln Mercury riding in among the top 5. Paul Newman in the Nissan Turbo car back there in 6th spot. Chris Neifel has fallen back. He started in the 5th spot and now is riding in 7th.
Well, Pete Halsmer is riding right up front, but getting continual pressure from Wally Dallenbach Jr. Now Halsmer's car, oh, and here comes Dallenbach, going to try to get him on his straightaway. I doubt that that's going to work.
No, I don't think so, Steve. I think that Mercure simply has too much power, and it's shown it repeatedly on the straightaways. As we watch one more time as Dallenbach moves in behind Halsmer here in the S's. Now, this could get a little interesting because we got some slower traffic up ahead, and let's see how these 2 guys maneuver through it.
We'll talk about a gentleman. We just saw Kerry Hitt there drive his Corvette off the racetrack to let the leaders by. Well, earlier, Brock, Jack Roush told me his big concern with the Mercure is that on this particular track, especially in the climbing turn, it doesn't have enough weight over the rear axle, and there's no ballast he can move around in the car.
They worked hard to get this chassis right, and Pete Halsmer, who holds an industrial engineering degree from Purdue University and is an excellent chassis man, has helped Jack a lot with trying to get this car working. And right now, it's doing just fine. Notice how it pulls away from Wally down this long front straightaway. Well, there's a move by Halsmer. He gets underneath Bob Beinert in one of the slower cars. That's a Trans Am, and puts a little bit of space between he and Dallenbach. Here comes Halsmer through the S's, locks up that inside set of tires. Smoke comes off him, but he's got a little bit of a cushion right now on Dallenbach.
But one thing we should point out, Brock, there will be no pitting for tires. There'll be no pitting for anything. This is a 100-mile sprint race.
Absolutely. These guys just stand on it for the whole distance as up through the climbing turn. Dallenbach trying to move back in on Halsmer, but Pete got a good move when he got underneath Bob Beinert in that 180-degree big bend.
And the driver in 2nd spot there in that Camaro, Wally Dallenbach Jr., is currently leading the Trans Am drivers' point standings. If he can win it this year, Brock, he'll be the first repeat champion in the Trans Am in over 12 years.
Could be interesting, but right now he's had some problems in the last few races, so he wants very badly to finish this event. As we watch Pete Halsmer, your current leader, the engineer from Anaheim, California, cool head, ran Super V cars for a long time, was a real star in Super Vs, got a couple of years in the Indy cars, then some GT prototype racing, and now doing so well in the Trans Am series.
You know, this track, Brock, should really fit the talents of Wally Dallenbach Jr. because he learned to race. He started racing in asphalt-modified cars in New Jersey, and look at him pull right above the bumper. Dallenbach is challenging now.
All right, here they go into the west bend, and right on the, look at this, Dallenbach tries him on the outside. What a move through that fast right-hander, and now he's got the line down through the hill, but it looks like Halsmer is going to muscle his way and hold on to the lead as they go down underneath a whole bunch of slower traffic on the main straightaway. But what a courageous move by Dallenbach, trying him on the outside of a very fast bend at the top of the hill.
And you know, Jack Roush hired Pete Halsmer, Brock, because he has so much turbocharged driving experience. Look at Dallenbach. He tried him on the inside now. No, the traffic, a big problem for Dallenbach.
Absolutely, a bunch of slower cars up ahead. Now this is where tactics come into play. This is more like short track racing here as we watch Dallenbach and Halsmer try to thread their way through that lap traffic. There goes Halsmer, and heading up the blind hill. He's still got slower cars in front of him. Remember now, this is where Dallenbach tried to pass him on the last lap.
And he'd try it again if it weren't for all the traffic. Dallenbach hoping to get Halsmer with his boost down in the tighter parts of the racetrack. Now headed down the diving turn. They'll come off of here and onto the main straightaway.
Halsmer got it a little loose through that very fast right-hander onto the front straightaway, and I don't think he's going to get quite the advantage that he has had earlier. Now, here they go down into Big Bend. That's 180-degree, decreasing radius right-hander. Very tricky corner, but Halsmer negotiates it well, but here comes Dallenbach. He always closes in the S's, Steve.
Absolutely, but it seems everything he gains here, he loses down the main straightaway. If he can just stay away from the lap traffic, he might be able to do it on this lap.
Well, these cars are just wide enough for Lime Rock so that once you get behind somebody, it's difficult to get by them if the speeds are relatively equal as they appear to be with these two automobiles.
All right, here's Dollenbach again, closing up. He does have an advantage. You can see he can outbrake him almost everywhere.
Well, the car really works there in that right-hander. Look at this. Dollenbach trying to get underneath Hosmer as they head back one more time onto the front straightaway. But look at that boost for that Mercure. As yet again, he pulls out about 3 or 4 cars on him.
It's on that front straightaway that Dollenbach has just got to sit back, get his thoughts together, and now start to attack as they go into the only left-hand turn on the circuit coming up just ahead of Pete Hosmer.
Right, the S's, here it comes. Hosmer always smoking those left side tires a little bit as they head down out of the S's, and here is the race for the 6th spot. That is Paul Newman, the number 33 Nissan Turbo V6, and right behind him, Chris Neifel in the other Mercure. Now, it appears that Chris has had himself some problems, Steve. He started up in the 5th spot, has slowly fallen back, and now is fighting to hold on to the 7th place. It could be that gearing is a major factor here with Neifel. He just may have picked the wrong gear set, and it's causing him some real penalty. Earlier, Steve had a chance to look at how gearing is so critical here on this Lime Rock course.
Team managers like Jack Roush will tell you that the gearing in these Trans Am automobiles, both in the transmission and in the differential, can be as important as the horsepower they make. Now, the last time we saw one of Jack's V8 Capris was at Road America. If you brought that car from Road America to Lime Rock unchanged as far as gearing is concerned, you wouldn't have a ghost of a chance here. In fact, let's take a look in Jack's own handwriting, his analysis of the difference between the two tracks. Now, at Road America, they were hitting 170 miles per hour at their peak RPM of 8,200 down the straightaways. Here at Lime Rock, they anticipate only 156 miles per hour. They need that same 8,200 RPM. So they will drop the overall drive ratio in the differential 8% from a 370 to a 403. But here's what I find interesting. At Road America, the difference from the slowest first gear turn to the fastest 5th gear straightaway was 120 miles per hour. Here at Lime Rock, from the slowest 2nd to the fastest 5th is only 86 miles per hour. So by race programming the Wiseman transmission, Jack feels his driver should be able to use only 3 gears here, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. He'll give them a good stout 2nd gear for getting around slower traffic and a low gear to get out of the pits. But all in all, surprisingly enough, on this very twisty course, they'll shift gears less often in a lap than they would at Road America.
Well, on second thought, it's probable that Chris is carrying the same gear sets that leader Pete Hosmer is as he dives underneath Newman. So it could be there are other problems with that number 2 Mercure, Steve. But in any case, Chris is not the factor that we expected him to be so far in this race.
No, he's not, Brock, and he, too, like Hosmer, has a lot of turbocharged driving experience, including, like Hosmer, in Indianapolis cars.
Right, as the struggle for the lead continues. Now, remember, Hosmer jumped right off the pole to lead it. Dollenbach fell back briefly to 3rd place behind Scott Pruitt and then recaptured that position and is right in behind, challenging all the way around this 1.5-mile track.
And you know what else he's doing, Brock? Wally Dollenbach Jr. is racing the rubber right off of Pete Hosmer's car. With this just constant pressure, will Hosmer have enough tires?
I always thought it was crazy. People spend thousands of dollars on a car, and then when it comes to taking care of it, they try to save a few cents on no-name brands. It's a lot smarter to put in ones you've heard of, like Fram oil and air filters, Autolite spark plugs and wires, and Bendix brakes. After all, if you're going to put a lot of money into a car, spend a little taking care of it. It could save you from a lot of trouble down the road.
Hi, I'm Roy Rogers.
And I'm Dale Evans.
We'd like to invite you to join us in an exciting Western adventure right here on Happy Trails Theater.
Each week, you'll see one of our action-packed movies from yesteryear.
Along with Dale Evans and me, there'll be old Gabby Hayes, Bob Nolan and Sons of the Pioneers, and of course, Trigger.
So join us right here on the Nashville Network.
Right. Saturdays at 11 Eastern, 10 Central, 8 a.m. Pacific on TNN. There's always a lot going on in the Music City, on the stage and behind the scenes. And Wraparound Nashville will take you there to see the sights, hear the sounds, and meet the stars. You'll make the rounds with Walt Adams and Roxanne Russell as they report on the places, events, and personalities that keep country music fans fascinated. Stay in tune with all the latest happenings on Wraparound Nashville. Saturdays at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Central, 9:30 a.m. Pacific on TNN.
This is the famous Sweetheart watch that's sweeping across America. This watch is layered entirely in genuine 14-karat gold, and it's color coordinated with fashionable pastel pink. How much would you pay for this adorable Sweetheart watch? Well, don't answer yet, because you also get this gold layered in black, color coordinated Sweetheart watch, and this burgundy watch. Now, how much would you pay for this 3-piece true gold color coordinated Sweetheart watch set? You might normally expect to pay $10 for each watch in this set. But now, as part of a special TV public awareness program, you can get the whole set for only $10. And if you call us within 1 hour, you'll also get a matching floating heart pendant. It's made entirely of solid 14-karat gold. Yet it's yours absolutely free if you call us now.
Just call toll-free 1-800-833-7000. That's 1-800-833-7000. Remember, you save COD charges if you use your Visa or MasterCard.
Back at Lime Rock, Connecticut, the SCCA Bendix Trans Am, and the struggle for the lead continues between Pete Halsmer and Wally Donoback Jr. Lincoln Mercury versus Camaro.
Paul Newman in the 300CX Nissan is still settled down in that 6th spot, not getting the pressure we might have expected from Chris Neifel behind him. But a good race developing here for the 9th position, Brock.
Right, Steve, that's Mike Miller in the 3rd Mercure, the 4th car out of the Roush stable. Boy, he's done it all. He's run go-karts, he's run top-fuel dragsters, stock and modified short-track cars, Super V's, you name it.
And somewhere found time to run a Lincoln Mercury dealership. Well, that was Tommy Riggins at number 42 Buick. Riggins just in behind Miller.
And Steve, that black and orange number 44 Mercure of Mike Miller's and the normally aspirated Buick V6 of Tommy's, kind of a duplication of the race for the lead. The turbo car able to hold off the normally aspirated Buick V6 on this straightaway here at Lime Rock. Down here they come down off that hill, and you'll see that 44 Mercure begin to pull out on Riggins. That's turbo power, the wave of the future, many people say. Earlier, Steve had a chance to look at what makes a turbo work.
We talk so much about turbocharging. Let's take a tour of a turbo system on the number 44 Mercury Mercure, driven by Mike Miller. Okay, now this is a 4-cylinder power plant, and here you can see all 4 exhaust pipes. Now they snake around, but instead of going out through the back of the car through a muffler as they would on a normally aspirated car, they go into this heavy cast iron housing they call a snail. Now the exhaust gases turn the turbocharger that is built by the Garrett Corporation. Now inside this housing is this, and this is what gets the job done. That is the impeller, racer slang, a wheel. Now the exhaust gases will spin this impeller to over 100,000 RPM inside this housing. And that, of course, creates a tremendous blast of air, but at 2,000 degrees, it's much too hot to go into the motor. So all of that air mass is then funneled through that heavily wrapped tubing and up into what they call an intercooler. In this car, it is built in conjunction with the radiator cooling. So it's flowing through here, cooling as it goes, okay, and enters the plenum chamber where it pressurizes all 4 of these fuel injectors. Now at this point, it's down to about 95 degrees, which is acceptable, and you've got anywhere from 64 to 86 pounds of boost, which can be controlled from the cockpit. Any more boost than you want is just wastegated out the bottom of the turbocharger. Now, how effective is turbocharging? Well, consider this engine, which is half the size of the normally aspirated V8s in the Trans Am, will run right with it, if not ahead of it.
Here's an example, Steve. The most exotic normally aspirated engines will produce about 3 horsepower per cubic inch. A turbocharged engine in Formula One, for example, 10 horsepower per cubic inch.
Well, Wally Dallenbach wishes he had a turbocharger right now, because anywhere that this racetrack straightens out a little bit, Pete Halsmer owns the advantage. And the tight stuff like right here, Dallenbach has got a chance. Dallenbach tries him outside. No, they touch their block. Halsmer off the racetrack.
Oh, yes, and right across the racetrack. This is in the West Bend. Halsmer comes to a stop, and now the leader is Wally Dallenbach Jr. He muscled his way through that melee, almost collected Halsmer as he came back across the track. Halsmer back underway again. But remember now, that is where Dallenbach has been trying Halsmer repeatedly in that fast right-hander at the top of the hill, the West Bend. And now, a clear racetrack for the new leader, Wally Dallenbach Jr., as he heads down into the S's. Now, this is where the car really worked. Remember, this is where he pulled up on Halsmer on every lap. Now, a clear, open racetrack. So Wally Dallenbach Jr. in a spectacular pass gets himself into the lead here, and a big cushion at that, Steve.
And Brock, that is going to put the 0 V8 Capri of Scott Pruitt in the second slot. Pruitt, who just loves to run down Dallenbach. They are two of the hottest young drivers in the country. In fact, kind of vying for that title in many ways.
Absolutely. As we watch Dallenbach come down off the hill, that right front corner of that car, that's carrying some Jack Roush body work and paint on it, I'll guarantee you, Steve.
And it may affect the hand. Oh, we've got one off the racetrack. Number 44, Mike Miller. That is a Turbo McCore. He's using his turbocharger to try to get out of the grass here, Brock. And you can see how slippery it is.
Well, there's been a lot of rain. In fact, there's a threat of it even today, Steve. Let's take another look at that spectacular moment here when Wally Dallenbach Jr. got the lead. That is the Mercure right there. Contact on the two automobiles as Halsmer tries to get back in line to set up for this fast right-hander West Bend, but he loses it, spins to the inside, and here comes Dallenbach finding himself some daylight. But Halsmer's not out of it yet, comes back across the racetrack and almost collects Dallenbach a second time. So this was a wild moment and some very good driving on the part of Wally Dallenbach Jr.
Indeed, from another angle, let's take a look at the evasive action that Dallenbach had to take when Halsmer came right back in front of him. I thought for a minute he was just going to T-bone him, but no, sir. He just snuck through there somehow. And how about Halsmer, Brock? With all of that, he is now third and again closing.
Well, Stevie did a good job of collecting the car from what could have been a total disaster, but he took a hard ride over that curbing, and I wonder if the chassis has been affected.
Well, and also with the brakes locked up, he could have flat spotted a tire, but you never know it the way he's driving. This is your leader. You're inside as Wally tries to put Mike Miller's Turbo Mercure a lap down. You remember Miller made an excursion off into the grass a little earlier on, so that's pushed him way back. And Wally has got to conquer the traffic as quickly as he possibly can. He's got Scott Pruitt, who just loves to play catch-up in the second spot, and Pete Halsmer. Whoa, and look, there is Scott Pruitt. He is off at Big Bend, Brock.
He sure is, Steve. Just got in there a little bit too hot, and that lets this man, Pete Halsmer, move back into second place, recovering that lost ground that he had with that little dust-up with Wally Dallenbach Jr.
And maybe an asset to Halsmer is the fact that one of his teammates is right now in front of Dallenbach. Not that Miller would intentionally block Wally, but he's not going to go out of his way to move over.
No, absolutely not. More traffic ahead, too, which is going to slow up Dallenbach. This is the corner where all that trouble happened before. Right now, down the hill, though, here comes Pete Halsmer moving in behind Wally. Halsmer right back where he started almost before that spin.
I wonder if Dallenbach's car might have been affected a little bit of that chuck too. And here comes Halsmer. He is back into the lead. What a Trans Am we are seeing today.
And what a show of power on the part of that little four-cylinder Mercure. Just blasted by that V6 Chevrolet.
Not to mention what a show we're seeing as far as driving is concerned. Now Dallenbach going high there. There's no way he can pass. The car's just a little bit too loose.
I don't think there's any way he can pass right now as long as that Turbo Mercure works. We talked about the knob. We talked about turbos. You saw it work just a moment ago.
There's a dumb mistake even I make sometimes. I take great care doing a tune-up. Start the car, and it doesn't run right. I go crazy checking things until I find out one of the spark plug wires wasn't pushed all the way down. That's why I like these Autolite Power Seal spark plug wires. They click on so you know they're making a good connection. Next time you do a tune-up, take a tip from me. Get Autolite Power Seals, the wires with the right connections.
You know, not many fishermen will ever catch a record-breaking lunker like this 20-pounder. But everyone can be a better bass fisherman. I'm Ray Scott, the president of the Bass Angler Sportsman Society, and I'd like to help you be the best fisherman you can possibly be through our Bass Society and our publication, the Bassmaster Magazine. As a member of Bass, you'll enjoy 9 big issues of Bassmaster each year. Every single issue is loaded with valuable bassing tips and tactics and how-tos to help you catch bigger bass and more of them. Plus, we'll send you your very own membership packet, including a membership card, decal, handbook, and this handsome embroidered patch. And right now, I've got an extra special get-acquainted gift for you when you join Bass. It's a big bonus tackle pack, including a spool of string line, a pack of Mann's auger tail worms, an LC spinnerbait, and a supply of true turn brute hooks. And there's more.
If you act right away, I'll also include a free copy of Jackpot Bassin for a grand total value of $9.95. That's right, it's all absolutely free. Our gift to you with your $15 paid membership. Now, here's all you have to do to join Bass and enjoy your free gifts.
Call toll-free 1-800-833-7000. Major credit cards accepted. And remember, we guarantee your satisfaction or your money back. That number, 1-800-833-7000. Give us a call right now.
Well, what looks like a farmhouse with a flooded basement is really a boathouse. It's one of the beautiful estates here in northwestern Connecticut. Gets a little nippy in the wintertime. You want your boat to be comfortable, so you drive her in there and get it up out of the water. I'll tell you who's not very comfortable right now. Wally Dallenbach Jr., he has lost the lead to Pete Halsmer.
He sure has, Steve, and in very discouraging fashion, because Halsmer spun, as you recall, and then just blew past Wally to retake the lead. So that is an exhibition of power you don't often see on a short racetrack like this at Lime Rock.
Paul Newman, the Nissan, still running 6, and here is Dallenbach Jr. Mike Miller is still a problem for Dallenbach.
He sure is, Steve. He's back in 14th. He's a lap down. Halsmer having passed him, but Wally can't seem to get by him. That Mercure of Miller's has gotten awful wide here in the S's.
Well, Wally may have to resort to the same kind of a pass he put on Pete Halsmer, where he just kind of nerfed him out of the way. Dallenbach finally gets around Mike Miller, but Pete Halsmer really took advantage of that situation and moved out.
Here goes the Protofab Camaro up over that blind hill. Up ahead, you can see the yellow bumper that identifies that Mercure of Pete Halsmer, but he did pull out a fair distance while Dallenbach was trying to get by Miller.
One thing Wally Dallenbach and Pete Halsmer can count on, and that is all of the volunteer SCCA workers around this track keeping things as safe as they can. Brock's with one of them.
Diane Miller is one of over 100 members of the Northern New Jersey region of the Sports Car Club of America who have come up to Lime Rock to really do about everything. They've the corner workers, the safety crews, the registration people, the paddock markers, marshals, the timers and scorers. They're all from down in Diane's area. And Diane, I know that this is a massive undertaking for you, and tell me exactly what you're doing up here this weekend.
My job this weekend is as an assistant race chairman, which kind of entails just about anything that has to be done. If they need something, they call on us to try and help out, from registration right on down.
It must be a neat deal, though. There's got to be a social aspect to this. I know it's all volunteers, so there's more to it than work, I would imagine.
Yeah, there has to be. Nobody does this just for a volunteer. There isn't something fun in it. My husband races and my son races, and I've gotten involved because of that. I started timing for them and so forth, and then I got involved more with the region, was asked to serve as a board trustee on their board of directors, and that's kind of how I've gotten involved, and I now do a lot more than they do, I think, at the races.
How much time a year will you devote to the region and to SCCA activities?
Well, every race that we participate in, whether or not we sponsor it or not, we are asked many times to help with volunteers, and I'm usually involved with every race that I possibly can, whether it's on a regional level or a national level. And such as the Meadowlands, we do the work out there. I was assistant race chairman out there, one of many. That's a big undertaking.
Well, I'll tell you what, we all owe you a debt of gratitude, because if it wasn't for people like you, we wouldn't have any races like this, so we're sure glad you're here.
Well, it would be nice if more people would volunteer, because we can always use the volunteers.
Okay, well, thank you, Diane, for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Well, if you'd like to have a lot of fun at the races with people like Diane, the number is 1-800-255-5550 for more information on joining the Sports Car Club of America. Wally Dallenbach Jr., he's a member. So's the guy in front of him, Pete Halsmer. But we've got a good race back here for the third spot now. And it's between a pair of V8 automobiles, the Chevrolet Camaro of Jim Miller, with a few car lengths advantage over the Zero Mercury Capri of Scott Pruitt. Pruitt got off the racetrack, but like his teammate Pete Halsmer, doesn't waste any time in coming back.
Well, Jim Miller, the older brother of Mike Miller, he is in that Protofab car, so we got another replay of the Protofab Roush rivalry back here between these two automobiles.
Well, unlike his younger brother, Jim Miller has concentrated solely on SCCA competition. As far as Scott Pruitt is concerned, in fact, Pruitt moving up there in the Zero car. Pruitt, he spends a lot of time on airliners because Roush flies him back and forth between not only this series, but the GTO class and IMSA racing.
Well, Jack Roush has stated repeatedly that he views Scott Pruitt as a major find and is going to use him over the years in all kinds of competition. I think he sees Scott Pruitt able to drive almost anything with wheels.
And like so many great race drivers all over the world, Scott Pruitt came directly out of go-karting.
It is a classic training ground. We recommend it for any young racer. As Scott Pruitt tries to move in on Jim Miller through that west bend, this is a corner that leads, as we said, down through that very fast section where a lot of passing is going on. These two normally aspirated cars are pretty even. We're not going to see any of that big boost of horsepower that Hallsworth put on Dallenbach down the front straight.
I don't know, Brock. Here comes Pruitt on the outside of Miller. Going into Big Ben, Scott Pruitt. Oh, and Pruitt loses it, Brock, the same place he had a problem before.
Well, Steve, that's actually two corners. It tightens up. So Pruitt looked real good getting into the corner, but then when it tightened up, Miller just stayed down low on the inside and kept the line. So Scott lost a whole bunch of time on that gamble. He just couldn't squeeze in enough as that corner tightened up and went off in the dirt.
Well, that's that decreasing radius you talked about when we took a look at the track earlier. Elliott Forbes Robinson with the V6 Buick now right behind Scott Pruitt.
Well, it's been a difficult weekend so far for Elliott. He's on his third engine. He blew a couple of them up and now driving probably more cautiously than normal, trying to keep that last one together as he sits in the 5th spot in that red and white number 6 Buick Somerset Regal. Down off the hill, maybe he'll challenge Scott Pruitt, as Wally Dallenbach Jr. in the number 8 Camaro continues to hound the leader, Pete Halsmer, and his Merkur. The battle continues here at Lime Rock, Connecticut. Stay with us.
I feel good. Time to go, boys. You've been in there long enough.
Hey, we're not even tired. I feel good.
So I've checked the mileage and
Hey, we're the auto lights. We're guaranteed.
guaranteed.
I feel good. Yeah, 2 years, no matter how far we go.
But no spark plug guarantees that.
We do. Yeah, we're the auto lights.
But
So go pull the plug on somebody else.
How about poor Fred Wilson? I heard Gene needed help with his funeral expenses.
That's ridiculous. What about Social Security?
When my brother passed away, his wife got a Social Security death benefit check for $255. And the funeral cost almost $3,700. How on earth did she pay for it? Well, fortunately, my brother bought life insurance a few years before he retired.
That cost a pretty penny.
Oh, that was Prime Life 50 Plus. It sells through as little as $6.95 a month.
That's right. And premiums never increase for any reason. And your benefit won't decrease as you grow older because this is whole life insurance. If you're age 50 to 80, you can't be turned down. To get all the facts, call this toll-free number for a free information package.
Hello, Colonial Penn?
If you're over 50, call 1-800-548-7000. Remember, the call is free. So is the information. That's 1-800-548-7000.
This is America's #1 address for country music. And if you have a question or a comment about your favorite shows on the Nashville Network, please write us in care of TNN Viewer Services, 2806 Opryland Drive, Nashville, Tennessee, 37214.
The big question here at Lime Rock, Connecticut is how much longer can Pete Halsmer continue to push that number 3 Turbo Merkur to stay in front of Wally Dallenbach Jr., the Camaro that's right on his bumper. Paul Newman still in that 6th spot. Chris Neifel in 7th. That has been going on lap after lap. Neither gives any ground, neither gains any.
Well, Steve, remember earlier in the season, we saw this pair go at it for 100 miles at Road America up in Wisconsin, and the result was basically the same. Wally Dallenbach Jr. crossed the line just a few yards behind Halsmer. So we know that Merkur can stand the pace of a 100-mile flat-out Trans Am contest as we're seeing here today. But whether or not he can hold off Dallenbach, who charged past him once before in a really muscular piece of driving. And right now, though, Halsmer has moved out. That same old pattern exists. as they go down that front straightaway. That turbo car, look at this, Hosmer off.
Pete Halsmer is off going into turn number 1, or the Big Bend as they call it here. And I wonder, Brock, if tires could not be the culprit here, for both he and his teammates got Pruitt off at that same place.
Well, I speculated earlier that he could have hurt the chassis on that Mercure with that big spin he had when he lost the lead. Now Pete back underway a second time. There's no opportunity here to make any tire changes and still stay in the hunt. This is such a fast pace here that you cannot stop. So Hosmer's going to have to struggle along. In the meantime, Wally Dallenbach Jr., the new leader.
And you can bet that Dallenbach is going to back off just a little bit now. He's not getting the pressure he had from any of the Ford drivers, so maybe he can conserve his tires just a bit. But there's got to be a certain amount of frustration right now among the Jack Roush organization. They appeared to have this race up pretty well in hand, and suddenly problems have affected just about all of their cars. Brock is down in that pit area.
I just heard the guys on the other side calling for tape over there, Jack. Do you think there is anybody work problems or not?
I'm for oxygen. If they bring me some oxygen, I'd be happier than tape.
We'll stand by.
Thanks a lot.
Well, that is Jack Roush we talk so much about for so many good reasons. And he's always flying about 14,000 feet. And that's indeed where you need... Oh, and he's not going to like this. That is Pete Halsmer again off at turn number 1, the Big Bend. This time he kind of took that escape road over there, but he's going back out to try some more.
Well, Steve, that car is definitely hurt. I mean, you just don't see Halsmer do that. As we watch the number 0 Capri of Scott Pruitt and Elliott Ford Robinson's number 6 Buick, they have moved up into 3rd and 4th respectively, thanks to the troubles of Pete Halsmer.
And here we see Scott Pruitt lead Elliott Ford Robinson over the climbing turn where you can just feel your stomach kind of rise and fall through West Bend and headed down towards the diving turn. Scott Pruitt right now the only thing that's keeping General Motors from holding down the top 4 places.
Right, as Jim Miller in the Camaro, the other prototype car, sits in the 2nd spot. So we got a couple of Camaros leading it here. But Scott Pruitt managing to hold off EFR down the front straightaway.
And Elliott Forbes Robinson, as you mentioned earlier, Brock, on his 3rd engine. They've been having some bearing problems. Now, that is a basic cast iron production block, the same kind of engine that sat on the pole a few years ago with Pancho Carter, turbocharged, of course. The same kind of engine we're seeing in a lot of different forms of racing with special aluminum racing cylinder heads. And here's Paul Newman. He and Chris Neifel are racing for that 5th position. Newman has it, and they've maintained just about this same interval between themselves lap after lap after lap.
Well, Paul Newman, as we said, knows this racetrack very, very well. You know, he's over 60 years old, Steve. His career obviously is not automobile racing, but this man is extremely competent behind the wheel of a race car. If he had devoted his life to race driving as opposed to acting, who's to know how good he would have been?
Brock, Scott Pruitt is giving up 3rd place to come into the pit area. Pruitt coming into the Jack Roush pits. The crew waiting for him. He's got a bad tire. You can see that car handling very poorly as he tries to bring it to a stop.
Yep, it's definitely on the right side of the automobile as the Jack goes on a car. This will doom Scott Pruitt's chance of winning here. There's absolutely no way that he's going to make up any lost distance. The right rear tire being changed as the crew goes to work. And Scott, you've got to know, has to be disappointed in this turn of events.
Well, that tire rock might have been going down for some time because we've seen Pruitt make a couple of excursions off in turn number 1. It finally just got so bad he had to bring it in. He'll go out in the 8th position.
So Scott Pruitt back underway in that normally aspirated V8 Capri as we have a look at that tire, probably cut here. Doesn't look like any excessive wear, probably picked up a piece of debris, and that was enough to put him into the pits for a stop. The race for 2nd has gone crazy. There are 4 cars in it. Miller, Elliott Ford Robinson right behind him, Newman behind him, and Chris Neifel just behind Newman. A 4-car train and a battle for 2nd overall.
Just incredible racing here. Wally Dallenbach Jr. may be off in the lead, but everybody here, including us, are watching this. All 4 of those cars are racing for 2nd position. We're starting to see a little bit of attrition. Any of those cars could win it, Brock.
Well, Steve, we've seen the problems with the Roush cars. Halsmer and Pruitt suddenly changed the entire complexion of this race.
And we talked about how capable the V6 cars were in this racetrack. Well, they're all either 6 or 4-cylinder cars up there, except for Jim Miller in the number 2 spot. That's the only V8 that's out there contending.
Well, Steve, we've got 4 different makes in the hunt here. We've got a Camaro, we've got a Buick, we've got a Nissan, and a Mercure, all fighting it out for the 2nd spot.
And you've got a huge diversity as far as the driving talent is concerned. Men of varying backgrounds and experience levels. There is Elliott Forbes Robinson starting to put a little pressure on the second place runner, Jim Miller. EFR is starting to pick up that pace, Brock. He's starting to look for a place to get around.
Well, into the S's, Miller holds him off, but EFR has moved up steadily, and right now, right on the bumper of Jim Miller. He may make a move on him as they head down the no-name straight.
He almost tried it there. He took a peek, decided, no. Here comes our leader. Wally Dallenbach Jr. was in the lead until this very moment. He has come into the Protofab pits. Why?
Well, here comes the jack. This may be tire problems, or yeah, there's a guy with one of the impact wrenches. They're going to check it out with Wally. You can see the damage after that hit that he had with Pete Halsmer on the right front, but it doesn't seem to be the problem.
The new leader is Wally's teammate, number 28, Jim Miller. That's why you run two cars. They had some insurance going for him. Elliott Forbes Robinson now in second. Paul Newman in the Nissan up to third. Chris Nivel in the Turbo Moucour in the fourth spot. I can't recall the last time we saw a road race of any kind with the four front runners running in a pack.
Hi, I'm Florence Henderson, and this is Jim and John Hager. If you're like us, you've spent many pleasant hours just relaxing around the kitchen table talking with friends. Well, that's just what we do right here on Country Kitchen. Lots of your favorite stars drop by to share a story, and of course, we do get cooking country style. So pull up a chair and join us, okay?
Yum, 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 yum.
Catch Country Kitchen Saturday at 10:30 Eastern, 9:30 Central, 7:30 a.m. Pacific on the Nashville Network.
Till the rivers all run dry.
He's one of a kind, warm and honest. He's had #1 hits 9 years in a row, 13 gold albums. He's Don Williams.
Love is on a roll, love is on a good roll.
Now, 18 of his greatest hits are all on the very best of Don Williams.
I believe in Mom and Dad, and I believe I hope this day is good, and I wouldn't want to live if you didn't love me.
It's not in any store.
To order, call toll-free 1-800-468-1300, or to save all COD and handling charges and pay only $8.98 for the album, $9.98 for the tape. Send check or money order to Don Williams, care of TV offer, P.O. Box 10030, Stamford, Connecticut 06904.
You want quaint? We've got quaint. All over the Berkshire Mountains are little bed and breakfast places like this. And believe me, when the leaves start to turn in the fall, you can't get a room within 100 miles of Lime Rock.
Well, one team apparently is... That's Charlie Selleck of the... Yep, there it is, the cut sign. The Protofab Camaro, Wally Dallenbach Jr., who came in the pits the leader, is out of competition.
So, Steve, disaster continues to strike the front runners here at Lime Rock. First Halsmer, a couple of spins and problems. Then Scott Pruitt, a tire goes down on him, and now Dallenbach looks out like he's out for the day.
But Jim Miller, the Protofab V8 Camaro, is out in the lead. Elliott Forbes Robinson, the V6 Buick, right behind him. Now, Elliott's car is 200 pounds lighter than that V6, so that could be quite an advantage as far as braking is concerned here.
Right, it could begin to spell the differences. The tire wear becomes a factor here as well. But let's not forget Newman and Nightfall as well. They're in it, and right on EFR's bumper is Paul Newman.
Normally, a V6 car would have like a 250-pound weight advantage, but with the fuel injection, they tag another 50 on, just trying to keep all of this competition somewhat equalized.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, Tommy Regan's Buick V6, which is very similar. Look at this. Elliott Forbes Robinson moves in and underneath Jim Miller in that west bend, taking over the lead. So we had a lead change here. Look at this. Elliott just booms down off that hill and takes himself maybe, 5 or 6 car lengths past the front straight.
And he did it with great authority, Brock. Here comes Paul Newman. Newman on the inside of Jim Miller. Newman is going to take over the second spot. And hard on the brakes is Chris Neifel, trying to keep him getting into the back end of that slowing 28 Camaro. And sideways goes Miller.
Miller trying to pinch it down into that decreasing radius coming off of Big Ben spins it. I wonder, Steve, if he's got tire problems. He sure began to falter very, very quickly.
Well, he's got some kind of a problem, but Elliott Forbes Robinson, he doesn't much care. He's out in the lead. Paul Newman, who you've talked about before, Brock, his great experience here, this is running a very steady race. Now, he has got a turbocharger on that 6-cylinder Nissan. He may be able to make up some ground down the front straightaway. But your leader is Elliott Forbes Robinson, as the complexion of this race changes dramatically. Right now, down in the pit area, Brock has got up with a young man who was leading until he was forced to pit.
Very disappointed Wally Dallenbach out of the car. Wally, it very, very tough, very rugged race. It looked as if Halsmer was going to lose it, and then you were out first. What was it?
Well, he was getting pretty wide on me, and he had done that at Elkhart, and you can't do that here. You know, I was faster than he was, and he was just getting wide, and we came up over the hill, and I was on his left, and we made contact, and we both started going side to side, but I seemed to save it, and he spun. But he sure caught up awfully fast.
Yeah, well, he didn't stop. We thought he was going to stop. It looked like the car's really crippled, though. What finally put you out?
Well, it seems like the clutch is slipping, and it just started slipping, and then no gears will make it go. So, you know, it wouldn't even run on that last lap. It wouldn't go forward.
Well, we're sorry. It was a super race as long as it lasted. We thought maybe you could pull it out.
I was hoping. The car was working great. The motor was working great. You know, the tires were on good. It is. It's really a shame.
Yeah, we're sorry.
So it's driveline problems. It's sideline Wally Dallenbach Jr., and that's going to cost him some points towards defending his championship. He won it last year for Ford. He's trying to win it this year for Chevrolet, but it's Buick in the spotlight right now. Elliott Forbes Robinson leads.
Actually, the fourth man to lead here today, Steve, with Miller, Dallenbach, and Halsmer. Right now, down off the hill, he's got a pretty good cushion, running all alone on this racetrack.
I'll tell you one man who is smiling in his vehicle right now. That is Paul Newman, and he has a tremendous friendly rivalry going with the young drivers like Neifel and like Scott Pruitt, and with them having big problems, Newman is enjoying it. This has been an ongoing deal. It's been a lot of fun for all of them.
Well, when you consider that Chris Neifel and Wally Dallenbach's age together don't total the veteran Paul Newman, I guess there is reason for joking, but Newman takes it very well, and they've really played some good practical jokes on each other over the season.
Well, Neifel and Dallenbach for Christmas sent Paul Newman a gift certificate to the Forest Lawn Cemetery.
Newman had an airplane fly over one of the racetracks that said, "Chris and Wally, call your mommy."
Well, and they counted with a busload of retirees dressed in Paul Newman fan club T-shirts. They paraded through his pits.
A whole bunch of fun. They had a walker sitting beside Newman's race car at one of the racetracks, I remember.
Oh, indeed. And this morning, Newman had about 100 people traipse through their pits and told them to all sit in the cars, touch anything you want, feel it, have a good time.
So right now, it's Paul Newman holding off the kid, Chris Neifel, down the front straightaway. Neifel on the outside, maybe going to try to make a move into that second spot, but it does not work as these two fine race drivers sweep through the Big Bend. Paul Newman, as we said, can find his way around this racetrack blindfolded. His first ride ever right here at Lime Rock.
Well, there's no joking now, as Chris Neifel sticks the nose of that McCord right under the bumper of the 300ZX Nissan.
A pair of turbocharged cars fighting it out for second, while a normally aspirated Buick Big Six appears to have just run away and hid, Steve.
Well, as we pointed out at the top of the show, Brock, that is really the magic of this Bendix Trans Am series. You've got so many different factories involved, so many different engine combinations, and today we have seen so many different leaders.
Well, they have done a good job with the SCCA at kind of equalizing all this stuff. So everybody running hard here at Lime Rock as we move toward the conclusion of the Bendix Trans Am.
No matter how much you smoke or how long you've been smoking, with the cigarettes program, you'll quit or your money back.
Now, arrest the smoking habit forever with Cigarette.
4 packs of cigarettes a day for over 30 years. Thanks to the Cigarette plan, I have stopped smoking.
I've been smoking since I was 17, and now I can finally breathe again.
Letters keep pouring in from customers praising cigarettes. People that have completely quit smoking using the Cigarette plan.
I was a 2-pack-a-day smoker and tried many times to quit. With cigarettes, I quit in a few short days.
The cigarettes program really worked for me. You're talking to a guy who chain smoked for almost 20 years.
I thought I was wasting my money. I'm glad I was wrong. I can't believe I quit.
They didn't think they could quit either. But with a powerful cigarettes pills and plan, they quit quickly, safely, inexpensively and without withdrawal. You can too.
Cigarette works even for the heaviest smoker like I used to be.
That after dinner cigarette, I didn't want it.
With Cigarette, the urge to smoke was gone in days.
I thought I'd gain weight, but I didn't.
Cigarette gives you the strongest non-prescription formula to ease your craving for nicotine and a program guaranteed to work or your money back. If you don't completely stop smoking after using cigarettes, we'll refund your full purchase price. You have nothing to lose.
I thought I never stopped smoking, but I did.
If you want to arrest the smoking habit in just 5 days, call us now.
With Cigarette, you're guaranteed to stop smoking in just 5 days without withdrawal and without gaining weight. Call toll-free 1-800-852-5555. Use your credit card, save COD fees, or send $19.95 to Cigarette. Box 4444, Carlsbad, California 92008, or call 1-800-852-5555.
The number 6 Buick of Elliott Forbes Robinson continues to lead here at Lime Rock, followed closely by the Nissan of Paul Newman, then the Mercure of Kneifel. Tommy Riggins has come from 11th to 4th. Scott Pruitt, after his tire problem, even though he pitted, is still in the 6th spot, followed by his own teammate Pete Halsmer, who spun earlier after he led the race. Tremendous competition here at the SECA Bendix Trans Am. I'm Steve Evans along with Brock Yates, and what a contest, Brock.
Right, Steve, as we watch that battle for second continue, Kneifel carrying on, trying to move up on Newman, but that turbocharged V6 Nissan seems to be working better as this race progresses. Oh, look at that. Kneifel almost off in the dirt, gets a couple of wheels off as he comes off that fast bend leading out of the front straightaway. Newman driving with real authority here. That car may be working better and better. The tire combinations just may be working better than the heavier Camaros. There's Elliott. He's leading it. Right in front of him, that's Mike Miller. Now, Miller, remember, it got a little bit wide in a couple of corners and seemed to hold up a little bit some of the moves of Wally Dallenbach earlier. We'll see if he lets Elliott by as they go down the no-name straight.
Well, Brock, I don't know what the deal is with Miller. Either he's not watching his mirrors, the corner workers, because he's certainly not moving over. But look at this. Here is Scott Pruitt right on the tail of Jim Miller. That is the V8 Capri coming inside the V8 Camaro. Taking over the 5th spot. Charging his way back is Scott Pruitt.
Right through the S's. The fans love that. That was a beautiful pass by Pruitt as he continues to try to get back up among the leaders. Got a long way to go, though. Remember, he had that pit stop to change the right rear tire. So Scott Pruitt continues to charge. He doesn't know any other way to drive. The kid is really quick, but he's well back. Here's this Miller Forbes Robinson dice, and remember, Miller is a lap down, and that, as you say, has permitted Paul Newman to move right up on Elliott. Elliott can't seem to get by Miller. Miller not moving over, and I'm really kind of surprised at that.
I am too, Brock, and it's not the kind of situation where EFR can wait for the straightaway and make a clean pass, because it's there that Miller enjoys a little bit of a horsepower advantage with that turbo. So Elliott Forbes Robinson has just got to try to get by Miller anywhere he can. Brock right now is down to the pit area with a guy who's got to be smiling. Maybe a little nervous, but smiling. He's the man who built that Buick, Ron Nash.
Racetrack is getting oily, and there have been a lot of attrition, a lot of fender banging, but it looks like so far he stayed clear of the carnage.
Well, that's right. Elliott's a pretty smart driver. He keeps it pretty cool.
Well, let's hope he stays that way.
Right, thanks.
He's a smart driver, but he's got to be a little impatient now. He's still being blocked by that lap car. But here is a terrific race. Miller and Pete Halsmer. Now, you saw one Ford car get by Miller. That was Pruitt. Now, that car is not handling properly. It's getting real twitchy.
Oh, absolutely, Steve. He is, remember, he led it and then has slowly advanced to the rear, so he's got some real problems. He's got a brake light out, too. Never passed inspection with that thing.
Heading down to the West Bend turn, there could be a chance here for Pete Halsmer to get around Miller. It looks like he's going to try to take him in the inside, and Halsmer hits Miller. Miller spins. Oh, and Halsmer climbs the bank.
Up into the tire wall, hitting hard. Pete Halsmer just slammed that number 3 car into the fence. Miller is out. Both cars damaged badly.
And Paul Newman is challenging for the lead in the 33 car, picking his way through. Elliott Forbes Robinson is on the inside, and Newman just zooms past. The turbo really working on the front straightaway. They head into turn number 1. Newman is the new leader, and we have a full course yellow, Brock, because of that incident with Halsmer and Miller. Newman is going to get a chance to take a breath and relax a little bit. Elliott Forbes Robinson can collect his thoughts, because when again the green comes out, this is going to be war.
Well, let's take another look at that incident that brought out the full course caution. That is Pete Hallsmer in the Mercure, apparently riding right up on the rear bumper of the Camaro, Jim Miller. That gets Miller sideways. Hallsmer apparently has no brakes because he just drives right up that hill and stops. Almost goes up into the corner workers stand. That was a tense situation for a minute. Miller into the tire wall, both cars badly damaged, both drivers out. Okay, they're all right, unhurt, but the caution is out. We'll have a restart here after the racetrack is cleared. Can the veteran Paul Newman hold on? We'll see when we get back.
If some of the dirt that goes in this truck went in its engine, yeah. What keeps it out? This special double air filter from Fram. Fram makes the same kind of double air filter for your car, the Fram Extra Life. Inside it works like an ordinary filter and an extra filter. That's why Fram Extra Life lasts 50% longer than the old Fram single filter. Fram Extra Life, 50% extra protection at no extra cost.
Silver Eagle Records presents the great Roy Orbison.
Pretty woman, walking down the street, pretty woman, just running scared.
It's all of his greatest hits on 2 sensational albums. To order, call the number on your screen.
Sweet dream, baby, I'm going back someday, gonna stay on Blue Bayou, only the lonely. It's over, it's over, it's over. I got a woman, mean as she can be, uptown in penthouse number 3.
The great Roy Orbison on 2 LPs or cassettes, just $12.98 plus shipping and handling. Write or call now.
You'll really fall for September on TNN. Beginning Saturday, September 6th, enjoy a better way to care for your flowers and vegetables as Jim Bennett, the Weekend Gardener, premieres on TNN. Later that same day, and again Saturday the 13th, it's Championship IMSA competition. TNN takes you to Road America for the 500-mile GT endurance of the Lowenbrow Classic. Saturdays always mean lots of music and stars. Tammy Wynette, Ed Bruce, Ronnie McDowell, and the Forrester Sisters are among those who shine at the Church Street Station. And Johnny Cash, Boots Randolph, and Reba McEntire are just some of the stars who add to the fun on the Tommy Hunter Show. Saturday nights, you're in the right place for some of the best country music in the world when you're at the Grand Ole Opry Live. It's just part of what's happening in September on the Nashville Network.
We're still under yellow here at the Bendix Trans Am at Lime Rock. Here's how they line up behind the pace car. Paul Newman with the lead, the Nissan, Forbes Robinson with a Buick, Tommy Riggins with a Buick, then Scott Pruitt with a Ford, Chris Neifel with a Mercure. Brock right now is down in the pits with one of the men involved in the accident that brought out this yellow flag.
I'm with Pete Hallsmer. A valiant effort, but we saw things just starting to come apart on the race car coming down the front chute, Pete. And what was it, suspension that finally gave way or what?
We lost the front brakes for some reason early on, and it caused me to spin a couple of times because I couldn't get it slowed down for that first turn. And finally, I was trying to learn how to drive the thing without front brakes, and it was going pretty good. And then finally, somebody stopped sooner than I expected him to in front of me and just nailed him. It was Jim Miller. He and I both went off the backside, but he's okay, and I'm all right. So.
Got pretty hairy out there at the beginning. You and Wally were going at it.
Yeah. Well, it tends to get that way.
Yeah. The race car was it something that with him, or what caused the front brakes to go?
I don't think so. I don't really know because it just happened, and I hadn't been off track until they went away. So I think something just happened internally I don't know, in the brake system, because I went off and hit the tire wall pretty hard in the front end. So I doubt that. I don't know if they'll be able to tell anything anyway.
Well, it's over for the day. We're sorry you're out.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Understand that front brakes take far more punishment and are really more important than rear brakes. Here comes the race start. Paul Newman will lead him down the front straightaway towards turn number 1. Elliott Forbes Robinson already looking for a place to pass. He's not going to get it just yet, though. The Nissan has a big turbo horsepower advantage down that straightaway. Elliott Forbes Robinson closing in now as they get into the twistier part of the course. Here is the only left-hand turn. That'll lead him up through the S's.
Well, that's exactly the way we saw Halsmer and Dallenbach go earlier in the going. Remember, the turbo of Halsmer worked down the front straight and down this straight, the no-name, and Dallenbach was able to work his way in close in the tight stuff. It seems to be the same situation here with Newman and Elliott Forbes Robinson.
But watching these two cars, Brock, let's see if we can see it again. The brake lights seem to come on later for EFR than they do for Newman. Newman is having to get on the binders a little earlier.
Well, he's probably carrying more speed into the corner, Steve, because that Nissan has got a bunch of horsepower. Here they come down the front straightaway. We'll see what Paul does. Yeah, he pulls out a little bit as they head down into the Big Bend. He's got himself maybe a 5-car length lead. There's the race for third, and Scott Pruitt challenges Tommy Riggins and moves into the third spot as they head through turn number 1.
Indeed, that is the V6 car of Riggins. It is not, however, fuel injected like the machine of Elliott Forbes Robinson. You see a little smoke coming off of the tires of Riggins. He's starting to lose that rubber.
Boy, Steve, if Pruitt hadn't made that stop, he could be leading this thing. Here's the race for sticks. Mike Miller in that Mercure just ahead of Les Lindley in the number 80 yellow Camaro.
You know, Brock, I've got to agree with you on the point you just made. If Pruitt, if hadn't had to pit, I think he would be the leader, but not so.
Well, he's running real hard and trying to move up. He's sitting in the third spot, and of course, with all the attrition we've seen here today, it could still be somebody beside Paul Newman, who leads it right now, though, over Elliott Forbes Robinson down off that hill. He'll hit up to 100 and maybe 160 miles an hour before he gets all over the brake to get into turn number 1.
There are only 5 laps to go. We see Paul Newman apparently increasing his lead over Elliott Forbes Robinson. He is indeed doing that.
He is. Here he comes around the Big Bend, heading toward the S's. This is where Elliott seems to be able to pull in a little bit in the tight left-hander that is the best spectating area on the racetrack. Here comes Pruitt in third.
We just saw the interval between second and third, and it's not that great. Wouldn't it be something, even with a pit stop, if Scott Pruitt could win this thing? Now, that's why that car is brought in here, that V8 Capri. It's really last year's car. They bring it as an insurance policy, really, brought to try to score points for the manufacturer's title in this series. There's the leaders.
Here is the leader, Paul Newman, and right behind him, Elliott Forbes Robinson. And you can see that Newman has stretched it out a bit. He is pulling away from Elliott down the front straightaway. The horsepower advantage that seems to exist with that turbo Nissan is starting to play a role. Here comes the third place car. That is Scott Pruitt. Now remember, Pruitt had maybe a 7 or 8 second stop. The Roush crew really did a good job to change that right rear tire to keep him in contention.
4 laps to go, and we've said so often on our Trans Am coverage, Brock, if you pit, you lose. Maybe that won't be the case with Scott Pruitt. There's Elliott Forbes Robinson. Remember, he is the second place car, the red and white, number 6, 6-cylinder Buick.
Had the lead briefly until he got snookered a little bit with a beautiful pass by Paul Newman down the front straightaway. Oh, that's Chris Neifel in the other Roush car. He is spun. I don't think he's going to lose a position. That was in the S's, running relatively slowly, so he recovers quickly, gets that turbo Mercure back up to speed.
Talk about tense, Brock. That is Bob Sharp, Nissan dealer and car owner, partner along with Paul Newman. He's got himself a real vantage point to try to root Newman on to victory. If Paul can win this, it would be his second Trans Am victory in his career.
Well, remember, Steve, earlier this season, we saw him lead at Riverside, California, only to have engine failure that put him on the sidelines. And it was a very poignant moment. He said, I don't have a whole lot more of these left in me. And you really felt bad for him. Right now, though, Elliott Forbes Robinson has moved in a little bit, as he does seemingly on every lap in the S's. But now down that straightaway, leading toward that uphill corner, Newman stretches out a little bit. Up ahead, though, some traffic. And remember, Newman used traffic to jump into the lead, so it may be Elliott's chance for retaliation.
That's right, and just about 2.5 laps left in this 100-mile Trans Am sprint race that has seen more lead changes than maybe any Trans Am in recent memory.
Okay, heading down toward the start-finish line. There are now 2 laps left in this event. as Paul Newman leads it toward what may be a victory. Elliott Forbes Robinson right in behind him in that big bend. He's fallen back a little bit. Right now, though, his chance to make up some of that distance in the tight stuff.
An opportunity for Newman to earn his first victory of the season. Same would be true for Elliott Forbes Robinson. The Buick showed great promise last year, won 2 races. The Ron Nash prepared cars have stumbled a little bit this year, but boy, this is encouraging for him, Brock. They're in this one all the way.
Well, I think part of the Buick problem, Steve, is that Chevrolet came in with a prototype team with a giant effort, and the Roush team, of course, with major Ford backing is in a big way. So the Buicks, a little bit perhaps underfinanced, as well as the Nissan. They got caught a little bit off guard, I think, as well.
And there's talk, Brock, that the Porsche is going to get back in this series, so it can only get more interesting as we go along.
Absolutely. The Porsches are sidelined right now for redevelopment as we head into the final lap here at Lime Rock. 1.5 miles to go for Paul Newman to pick up a much-needed and much-desired victory. Boy, will this be a popular one. This is his home track. He lives in Connecticut, and they really love him here in this part of the state.
Let's see if Elliott Forbes Robinson has got anything left here to try to mount a challenge. Right now, Newman is keeping at least a car length of daylight between them.
Moving underneath some of the slower traffic as they head toward the climbing turn, that blind hill that'll really settle you down. Up ahead, the wreckage of the Miller-Halsmer crash. They'll stay clear of that. This is the West Bend. Here comes Forbes Robinson moving in, trying one final challenge. He's only got another corner left to make it work.
This is the diving turn coming down onto the main straightaway. Elliott Forbes Robinson looks to the inside. There's a car there. No, he can't make it work there. I don't think he has the horsepower to do it anyway. Paul Newman wins it. 61 years of age. Paul Newman will be in the victory circle today.
And what a happy crew. And that's Ron Nash, Elliott Forbes Robinson's crew chief and car owner. But he also, Steve, built this car. So Nash has built the first and second place cars here.
And if I was Dallenbach Jr. and Eiffel, I wouldn't come near the winner's circle because the man they tease so much has done it today.
This is one of the most unusual schools around, a school for drag racing. And Frank Hawley, who runs it, pushes drivers and cars to the limit. That's why he uses parts that can take a lot of pressure, like Fram oil filters. He knows with a cheap brand there could be problems, like leaking gaskets and maybe even big engine trouble. So Frank thinks it's worth paying a little more for a Fram oil filter. After all, isn't it better to spend a little now instead of a lot later?
HMC Productions presents for the first time ever Marty Robbins' Legacy. Marty Robbins' Legacy is the only concert video of Marty Robbins, musician, singer, entertainer, songwriter, poet, and man.
Sweet. In the winner's circle today of the Bendix Trans Am, Paul Newman.
Okay, out of the car. Paul. Super. Needless to say, we're delighted. Great race. Great pass. Put it on him right down the front straightaway.
Yeah, it was kind of nice. Well, the thing that people don't understand, this is the terminal practical joke. You see, I planned to forfeit the race, and I just wanted to play a joke on Dallenbach and Neifel, that's all.
That running joke continues. I'm sure that we haven't heard the end of it, right?
Well.
Any problems at all, obviously, after everybody, all the fast guys, the faster guys, it looked as if there was a demolition derby up in front of it. You guys stayed clear of it and did a good job.
That's, the trick is to keep your nose clean.
Elliott, did you think you could get Elliott?
Well, I wasn't sure. The car up in front has got a tremendous advantage, and it's not easy to pass on this course. And so that's why I figured I'd try a bonsai.
Did he threaten at all after the caution went away?
Yeah, he was there. I knew he was around.
Well, but down the front straightaway, you seem to be able to pull him out. Did on the backside,
yeah,
any problem?
The car was working very well coming down the hill,
yeah,
so.
Yeah. Bunch power. Gene Crow got to be pleased.
Boy, you got to believe it. I haven't been so pleased in years.
Bob, delighted.
You bet. You bet. Beautiful. Long time coming, but happy to be here.
Super trio. Congratulations to all of you.
Thanks a lot.
What a great moment for Paul Newman and Bob Sharp to win here in their home state. Let's take a look at the top 5. Of course, Newman won it, followed so closely by the Buick of Elliott Forbes Robinson, Pruitt with the Mercury, Tommy Riggins with the Buick, Chris Neifel with the Turbo McClure. Mike Miller in the 6th spot, followed by Lindley, Dews, and Draghetti, and John Schneider, who finished 10th, the partner of the man Brock's with.
With Elliott Forbes Robinson, a valiant effort, Elliott. It looked as if that the old turbo was just a little bit too much on the chutes.
Well, it was. When I was in front of him, I could outrun him. But once I got held up by Mike Miller, who obviously was blocking me for some reason, I couldn't get by him because he had acceleration on me. And he's holding me up a couple seconds a lap, and Paul caught me and got by. And then I just don't have the power to go back by again. The V6 a Buick is a super motor, but it's just not up to the Nissan Turbo.
Well, it was a great race. You guys, you and Paul both kind of kept your noses clean while everybody up front got to banging on each other pretty lustily. But after that, all the traffic cleared away, I thought you could run, and then all of a sudden, he kind of made a band's eye pass on you down the front straightaway. Were you expecting that, or was that because of the balk?
Well, that was I'd been blocked for about 3 laps by Miller, and then I came down the straight there, and he got slowed up by a slower car, and he had acceleration to go around the car. So did Paul. And I didn't have that kind of acceleration. I got stuck. And I could have blocked Paul a little more, but, it just makes bad racing, I think. So it was just a case of I couldn't do it without doing something that might have put him into somebody else. So I just left it alone. And the car ran good all day. It handled better than it had all weekend. The crew, after the adversity we've been under this week.
3 engines, right?
Right. This is 3rd engine. One of them didn't break, but it had a problem because it was just an old motor. But, and the handling problems we had, which we didn't get to sort out, I just can't say too much for the crew to putting it together for us and making it run for the race.
Well, you did a super job yourself, Elliott, and we're sorry maybe there wasn't another 20 horsepower there. It would have been a super one at the end if you'd had it, I'm sure.
Well, we'll work on the 20 horsepower on the Buick motor and see if we can do one. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elliott.
Well, 20 horsepower can be mighty hard to come by. The gold medal being presented to Paul Newman by Jeff Stephen of Allied's Aftermarket Division. A tremendous day of racing here at Lime Rock. For Brock Yates, I'm Steve Evans. Thanks for joining us at the Bendix Trans Am.
The executive producer of the SCCA Trans Am series is Harvey M. Palish. Produced and directed by John B. Mullen. This special presentation of American Sports Cavalcade has been brought to you by the makers of Fram oil filters. Low-cost life insurance for your car. American Sports Cavalcade has been a presentation of Diamond P Sports.